The security camera had been broken for months. At least, that's what everyone believed. It was mounted high in the corner of the old house's living room, its tiny red light dark, its lens fogged with dust. When I moved in, the landlord mentioned it casually, almost as an afterthought. Doesn't work. Previous tenant installed it. Never bothered to remove it. I didn't question it. I was more concerned with the cheap rent and the fact that the place was quiet. Too quiet, maybe, but quiet all the same. For the first 2 weeks, nothing felt wrong. Then the noises started. Not loud ones. Nothing dramatic. Just small, ordinary sounds that were easy to ignore. A faint thump at night. The soft creak of the floorboards when I knew I hadn't moved. Once or twice, I thought I heard breathing, slow and shallow, coming from the hallway outside my bedroom. Each time, I told myself the same thing. Old house, settling noises, imagination. The first night I truly noticed the camera again was when the power went out. It happened at 2:13 a.m. The lights cut suddenly, the hum of the refrigerator died, and the house dropped into complete darkness. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, using its screen to light the room. No storm. No wind. No obvious reason for the outage. As I stepped into the hallway, something caught my eye. A tiny red. The security camera light was on. I froze, staring at it. The glow was faint but unmistakable, reflected slightly on the wall beneath it. I stood there for several seconds, waiting for it to turn off, convinced it was some electrical glitch. It didn't. I felt a wave of unease settle in my stomach. Cameras didn't just turn on by themselves, especially broken ones. The power came back a few minutes later. Lights flickered on, the house returned to normal, and the red light on the camera went dark again. I stood there for a long time listening, but the house was silent. The next morning, I checked my internet router. No outages reported. No unusual activity. I told myself it was nothing. That lie lasted exactly one day. The following night, I woke up at 3:17 a.m. I didn't know what had woken me at first. My room was dark, quiet, the air strangely cold. I lay still listening. That's when I heard it. A soft click. It came from the living room. I held my breath. The sound was subtle, mechanical, like a device powering on. Slowly, carefully, I slipped out of bed and cracked my bedroom door open. The hallway was empty, but the red light was back. The camera was on again, glowing steadily. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to understand what I was seeing. The camera was pointed toward the living room couch, toward the hallway toward me. Then I noticed something worse. The lens wasn't fogged anymore. It was clean, as if someone had wiped it recently. I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, I unplugged the camera. I pulled the cable from the wall completely, leaving it dangling uselessly. I even took pictures on my phone, just to reassure myself that it was disconnected. That night, I slept with my door locked. At 3:17 a.m., the red light came on again. I sat up in bed, staring at my locked door, my chest tight. The camera light glowed faintly under the doorframe, bleeding into my room like a warning. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then my phone buzzed. A notification. New device connected. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. The notification was from my cloud storage app, the one I used for work backups. Confused, terrified, I opened it. There was a new folder. It was labeled with today's date. Inside was a single video file. livingroom_03-17am.mp4. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct told me not to. But curiosity, raw and uncontrollable, won. The video loaded. The footage was grainy, tinted blue, clearly night vision. The camera angle was unmistakable. The security camera in my living room. The timestamp blinked in the corner. 3:17 a.m. At first, the room was empty. The couch. The coffee table. The hallway leading to my bedroom. Then the camera shifted. Not much. Just a few degrees. As if someone had adjusted it. And that's when I saw it. Something standing in the hallway.
Tall. Thin.
Completely still. It didn't move toward the camera. It didn't move at all. It was facing my bedroom door. Watching. The video ended abruptly. I dropped my phone. From the hallway, I heard the slow, deliberate creak of a floorboard. Right outside my door, I didn't open the door. I sat frozen on the edge of my bed, staring at the handle as if it might turn on its own. The creaking floorboard outside stayed silent after that single sound, as though whatever caused it had decided not to move again. Minutes passed. Then longer stretches of time that felt distorted, stretched thin by fear. Eventually, the red glow beneath the door faded. I waited until sunrise before leaving my room. The hallway was empty. No footprints. No signs of forced entry. The camera hung in its corner, unplugged cables still dangling uselessly from the wall. Its lens looked dull again, fogged over like it had been before. If I hadn't watched the video myself, I might have convinced myself I imagined the entire thing. I didn't. I packed a bag and left the house that morning. I called my landlord from my car, my voice shaking as I explained that the camera had turned on by itself, that footage had been recorded without power. There was a pause on the line, longer than it should have been. "That camera?" he finally said. "It shouldn't even be there." He told me the previous tenant installed it years ago. A quiet man. Kept to himself. Worked nights. One day, he just stopped showing up for work. Police came, asked questions, took a report. They never found him. "What about the footage?" I asked. "What footage?" the landlord replied. "I didn't go back that night. I stayed at a cheap motel on the edge of town. Lights on, TV playing quietly in the background. Even there, sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that figure standing in the hallway, perfectly still, watching my door." At 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Another notification. New file uploaded. My stomach dropped. I hadn't connected to any Wi-Fi. I hadn't opened the app. With shaking hands, I opened the folder. A new video sat beneath the first one. Hallway_03-17am.mp4. I didn't press play right away. I checked the file details. The upload source wasn't my phone. It wasn't my laptop. It was listed as camera 01. The video started. This time, the angle was lower, closer to the floor. The hallway light was off, but the night vision glow filled the space in cold blue. The timestamp blinked steadily. At first, the frame was empty. Then the bedroom door, my bedroom door, came into view. The handle rattled slightly. I felt sick. I remembered locking it. Remembered sitting on the bed, staring at that exact handle. In the video, the handle stopped moving. Something stepped into frame.
It was closer now.
Too close to hide details. Long arms hung at its sides, bending wrong at the elbows. Its head tilted slowly, as if listening. There were no visible eyes, no mouth, no features I could clearly identify, just a darker shape where a face should have been. It leaned toward the door. Then it spoke. Not in a voice. Not in words. The sound was like air being pulled through a narrow space, a strained imitation of breathing. I had heard it before. Outside my room. Late at night. The video ended there. I didn't sleep at all after that. The next day, I went to the police. They listened politely. Too politely. They watched the videos, their expressions tightening as the footage played. One officer excused himself halfway through the second clip. When the video ended, they told me they'd look into it. I could tell they wouldn't. That evening, against every instinct I had, I went back to the house. I needed answers. I needed to know how a disconnected camera was recording, uploading, watching me. I packed a flashlight and kept my phone recording the entire time, just in case. The house felt wrong the moment I stepped inside. The air was colder than outside. Still. Heavy. The living room smelled faintly of dust and something else, stale, metallic, unfamiliar. I checked every room. Windows locked. Doors secure. No sign anyone had been there. Then I noticed the camera. The cable wasn't dangling anymore. It was plugged back into the wall. My phone vibrated in my hand. Live feed available. Slowly, dread pooling in my chest, I looked down at the screen. The camera was live. And it wasn't showing the living room. It was showing me. From behind. standing in the center of the room. And just beyond my shoulder, reflected faintly in the dark hallway. Something was standing there too, that I didn't turn around. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I stood there, staring at my phone screen, watching myself stand in the living room like a stranger. The camera feed was steady, silent, unforgiving. I could see my shoulders rising and falling with each shallow breath. Behind me, the hallway was darker than it should have been. The shape stood there, half swallowed by shadow. It was closer than before. Close enough that its outline bled into mine on the screen, as if we were sharing the same space, overlapping, merging. My phone buzzed again. A message appeared beneath the live feed. Do not turn around. I swallowed hard. My mouth felt dry, my tongue heavy. I took a slow step forward instead, away from the hallway, keeping my eyes locked on the screen. The figure behind me didn't follow. It stayed perfectly still. I reached the front door. My hand wrapped around the handle. For the first time since this began, I felt something close to relief. Then the live feed changed. The camera angle shifted slightly, just like before, just a few degrees. The hallway filled the frame. I wasn't in the shot anymore. The message updated. You're out of frame now. The door handle refused to turn. I pulled harder. Nothing. The lock hadn't moved, but it felt like the door was braced from the other side, held shut by something patient and strong. My breathing grew louder in my ears, and with it came that sound again, the dry, strained imitation of breathing. Not behind me, above me. I raised my eyes slowly. The camera's red light was on. I don't know how long I stood there before it happened. Time felt wrong in that house, stretched and compressed at the same time. My phone screen flickered, then went black. The house went silent. No hum of electricity. No distant noise. Just stillness. Then the camera spoke. Not aloud, but through my phone, which lit up again despite having no signal, no connection. A new video file appeared automatically, already playing. The footage showed the living room. Empty. Then I stepped into frame. Not the real me. This version of me moved differently. Slower. Stiffer. It turned its head toward the camera with a jerking motion, as if pulled by invisible strings. Its face looked wrong. Not distorted, not monstrous, just unfinished. Like a copy that hadn't fully loaded. The figure from the hallway stepped in behind it. It placed a long hand on the copy's shoulder. The copy stopped moving. The video ended. My phone dropped from my hand, clattering onto the floor. The front door opened with a soft click behind me. Cold air rushed in. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't stop until I reached my car, my lungs burning, my hands shaking so badly, I dropped my keys twice before managing to unlock the door. I drove until the sun began to rise, until the sky turned a dull gray, and the world felt real again. I never went back. I changed my number, deleted my cloud accounts, bought a new phone. I stayed with friends, then family, then moved to a different city altogether. For a while, it worked. Nights were quiet. No sounds in the hallway. No red lights in the dark. I started to believe I'd escaped. 3 months later, I was scrolling through a video sharing site late at night, unable to sleep. A recommended video appeared at the top of the page. The thumbnail froze my blood. It was my living room. The title read, "This security camera recorded something it wasn't supposed to." The upload date was today. Hands shaking, I clicked. The video began with an empty room, bathed in cold blue night vision. The timestamp blinked in the corner. 3:17 a.m. The camera shifted. The hallway came into view. A figure stood there, tall and thin, perfectly still. Then it turned toward the camera. Toward me. And for the first time it smiled.